That is so loud.
Nothing like a gavel.
Right. Vocal.
That's our gavel.
That's our gavel.
You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Thank you everyone for coming. I think we have a special interest, or not a special interest, but certainly an update on sustainability tonight. So let's draw a crowd. I will rearrange the agenda a little bit so we can deal with that early on.
Right. You keep it, it's fine.
So the first order of business will be to approve minutes from November 16th and December 4th.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Let's go through department head reports and then we'll move up sustainability.
Great.
Okay, reports. Oh, look at that. Superintendent's first on the list.
Perfect.
You got anything to comment on or add to Tim?
I guess the only thing I didn't really add in there too much was about the WIA grant, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant we got. I know that has been mentioned in the news within the last week, but that wasn't in my report. So we'll hear a little bit more about that later on from our BNL representative, Taylor Jennings, who's here. So other than that, we're pretty excited for this grant. So it's going to help a major project get done forward.
Almost a quarter of the expense.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I think it's a pretty big deal. And certainly 0% financing.
Yep,
Nothing wrong with that.
we'll take it.
Any more questions for Tim or? Okay. Economic development, I don't see her here today.
She's on.
Oh, yeah, she said she was gonna be out. Is, anything to add to that, Lee?
I don't think so. We did get the LWRP grant that's gonna let us do the rec assessment. We had a deadline for the CARES grant, small business grants today. We received 3 more applications today. We will have a little bit more funding, so we'll probably do another round of that. But excited to see some applications coming through for that program. The secondary water source environmental is nearly complete. There's one more section that Aaron had some questions on with Northern Border, and he's waiting to hear back from them, but that's nearing completion. We got the go-ahead to start the environmental assessment for the Midtown Plaza. So things are moving along.
Okay, any questions for Lee? Thanks, Lee. Okay, the assessor, she said she couldn't be here today, and I don't think she made it online.
No.
She usually has a pretty comprehensive report. I don't know if you have any questions that you want to address to her, but certainly reach out to her. Village clerk.
Well, the village clerk and village treasurer have been very busy this week. We did submit a list of accounts we'd like to close to the board. If anybody has any issues with that or questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll proceed with that. Other than that, I think everything is in my report.
Okay, any questions for Sally? Let's make sure you read down through the list of that. I don't know if you've seen it, but we're trying to clean some things up, and I think that will go a long ways to creating a little bit of better consistency. Jim.
Good evening, everyone. The other thing I really wanted to add to my report is that our newest officer, Paige LaRock, graduated from the academy on Saturday. in Potsdam. She's already working day shift this week, as ride along. The training starts next week officially. She's already been right in the mix. We've had a lot going on this week, so. I see a new young lady on patrol cars, that's who it is. Otherwise, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Perfect. It's FTO, how many weeks is that typically?
It varies depending on the officer. We kind of.
Okay.
We have to do it, I think it's, how many hours it is off the top of my head for the academy, but then we do an assessment with all the supervisors and we decide if we need to add anything after that. It's like a case by case basis.
As much as needed. Yeah.
There's always something that has to come up, so.
Great. We're excited for.
Any other questions for chief?
What's your ratio of male to female officers?
2 females and 8 males. And I put my 2 females up against anybody else.
They're very good. Okay, let's see, historian, she couldn't be with us tonight. Recreation. Megan, how are you?
Great.
Tired.
I'm tired. Don't really have too much to add. We could open up the beach if we want to do it, flooded.
Yeah, I heard the water came up pretty good.
Is it to the building yet?
Oh, pretty close.
Amazing.
But no, we don't really have too much to add at this point. Have to answer questions.
Well, I know you've been working quite a bit because of some labor issues, and we appreciate the effort you put in.
100%.
And you should be commended for that. Anything else for the board?
Just thank you. For keeping it together.
I just don't know how it's December already.
Right.
Probably because you can't stop, get away from
On the
it.
positive side, 3 more months of ice.
There you
We're
go.
halfway through.
There we go.
And our dog control officer didn't have any complaints. I have heard some good things about how that's been going. So,
That's me. Good. That's good news.
and let's see, who did I miss? Oh,
Code enforcement.
code enforcement.
I don't really have anything to add to my report. Anybody have any questions for my report?
Okay. I don't think I missed anybody, so I need a motion to accept department head reports.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before we go into committee reports, I think what we'll do is move up, under new business, item H, sustainability committee upgrade and composting.
So thank you for putting this on the agenda. We appreciate it. So just quick history and context back in August. Canton questioned the continued viability of the food waste collection program because the collection site near the Canton Pavilion was experiencing some problems with the site cleanliness, insects, contamination, with non-combustible, compostable materials, and also non-regular pickup of the food waste. And also there was a lack of information on just the volume of waste that was being collected, how many users, and also the need to transport the waste further because the local farm that had been accepting the waste no longer was taking it. So the Canton Sustainability Committee was tasked with recommending solutions to the problem. And the committee recommended working with North Country Compost, which I'll refer to as NCC from now on, to collect the food waste, to monitor the site and collect data on volume of waste and usage. The village contracted with NCC for these services for a 3-month trial period, which began on October 10th. So the Sustainability Committee is tonight presenting this report and recommendations to the board so that the board can formulate questions and begin to consider options in advance of the end of the trial period, which is in January. So report on results to date. NCC replaced the dumpster that had been used to collect food waste with locked totes. The combination to the totes is obtained through a QR code or using a phone number that is posted at the site. This allows for the collection of data on who's using the program. Food waste is collected weekly by NCC. It's weighed and put into compost piles at a local farm. So since this new system began, previous problems with the site have been mitigated. The site is now kept clean and tidy. The problems with insects is likely eliminated because the totes are kept locked and sealed, although it's hard to tell because cooler weather probably had a lot to do also with lack of insects. There has been very little contamination with non-compostable, combustible. There is weekly collection of the food waste. Food waste is again composted at a local farm. And now there's an ability to communicate with users by collecting the contact info. And there's now metrics on volume, and users are updated. This is updated and recorded weekly, the metrics on the volume and the number of users. So to give you a sense of those numbers, as of December 16th, 269,494 pounds, 2,694 pounds of organic compostable waste has been collected. 271 pounds of scraps and mulch, and 623 pounds of pumpkins from the Halloween. So that's over a ton of food waste. That's just food waste alone, not counting the pumpkins that's saved from the landfill and is being turned into compost. 51 different households have used the site, 39 from the village of Canton, 9 from the town of Canton, 3 from elsewhere. So progress and momentum so far. The site continues to register new households. Community awareness has increased based on numbers of inquiries. The NCC has added and is in discussion with new clients, including Governor Hospital, which is now a new client. In terms of funding and additional support, Adirondack Action's Compost for Good program has chosen to award NCC a grant money from the USDA Rural Business Grant for the following. For hiring a compost liaison for outreach to the Canton community, specifically for Canton, creating a professional video detailing NCC services, and for equipment procurement. In addition, NCC plans to apply for grants in the 2024 granting cycle. Now that metrics relating to uses and volume of waste has been collected, grants will be much more competitive. Promising sources of funding for this composting initiative thus far identified are the USDA Public-Private Partnership that opens this spring, and various DEC grants. We don't know the opening dates for those yet. So, in summary and some conclusions, the problems that were identified as issues with the site and the previous program have been addressed. By granting NCC a 3-month trial period, the Village of Canton has given NCC the opportunity to try out a new system, to learn, to become more efficient, and begin to increase numbers of household users and gather data necessary for grant applications. During the 3-month trial period, NCC has made good use of the time to build momentum, increase usage, and begin to obtain additional funding and support. Continuity is important. A hiatus in food waste collection would very negatively impact the improvements made and the momentum that is underway. This program has created several jobs so far. The program creates a local resource and promotes regional independence, creating a source for local compost for farmers and gardeners. The program is a financial benefit to Canton residents. By removing the heaviest component, which is food waste, from trash pickup, residents save money. Mandatory collection of residential food waste is a trend that is likely to continue. Various municipalities and states already require it, including our neighboring state of Vermont. So continuing this program can ultimately save Canton money by having a program already in place when mandates come into effect, and eliminating consultant and startup costs in the future. As a result of having this trial period, allowing for a more precise determination of costs, as well as benefits from economy of scale as new subscribers use the site, NCC will be able to lower the cost of service. Future grant funding could also further lower costs. And finally, composting food waste is really important to mitigating climate change by keeping the food waste out of landfills where it produces methane and carbon dioxide. At COP28, which was the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which recently concluded, the UN's Food and Agricultural Association called for halving food waste emissions by 2030. So that's 7 years. So our recommendations, this Canton Sustainability Committee recommends, for the reasons listed above, the following. First, that the village continue to contract with NCC for managing this community compost site and program. And second, to work with NCC to continue to set reasonable goals, costs, and contract periods. The Sustainability Committee offers to help with this. Thank you.
Thank you. I know others may want to make comment, that certainly be allowed. The board may have a couple of questions first. There's a couple of things that I wanted to just say. We had several directives, I guess, for lack of another word, that we wanted addressed in this, and I think they've done a good job of that. We wanted to eliminate the items that weren't appropriate in waste stream. We're trying to eliminate problems with unauthorized dumping in that area by moving it off site. We weren't able to move it off site, and right now I can't say what the data is for unauthorized dumping. But again, it's the time of year where you're not going to see a lot of that. So that is a concern of ours. We want to keep DPW out of the process and eliminate, potential for grievances that may come to us because of this type of work. That's been accomplished. And the biggest thing is find funding for the program to continue. And I think that's key. We're in the middle of our budget this year, and I was able to find some sources of funding for a period of time. But I think it's going to be key that the Sustainability Committee and the people interested in this composting endeavor, we have to find funding for that somehow, through grants, through some outside sources. We have so much we're working on right now. Things are really tight. So that help is going to be needed, and to try to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I guess, Kathy, if I could just ask, in terms of seeking grant sources, you mentioned a couple of sources. I understand NCC has achieved a grant. I guess I'm wondering, is the Sustainability Committee planning on writing for grants for this? Like, what does the Sustainability Committee see as its role in this project at this point, besides supporting it and recommending it?
I think the ball is mostly in the court of NCC to be the main grant writers where will help. But they're working very closely with Compost for Good. They're the action organization, and they're really helping to identify grants that other communities like us have gotten. They have more information about some of the communities that have gotten grants that, they were in the 2023 cycle, but we would be going for them, I guess, in the 2024 cycle. I can say, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think there was a study on the village of Rhinebeck and Minerva, which is, the name of the grant, Greg, for Minerva.
There was about 20 different municipalities under that grant, which Minerva was one, and was awarded in 2022. The big grant cycle. But yeah, so I was curious myself, because I know you're probably familiar with the fact that in November a year ago, they passed this New York State Environmental Bond Act. Was 70%, and one of the biggest percentage of passage of the Environmental Bond Act, $4.2 billion for the state of New York to do climate mitigation. And yet, despite that, the DEC did not renew this grant that expired in June of this year. So I was kind of like, why is it's just a non sequitur? You get all this money and it's queued up, and then where's... So I found out that when they passed this Climate Leadership Community Protection Act, CLCPA 2021. They mandated, by 2050, zero, or I should say carbon neutrality for the entire state, 2050. And, they created what they call the, Climate Action Council, 22 individuals, 2 from each of the state legislatures, heads of all the state agencies, the DEC, and NYSERDA, and a professor at Cornell named Bob Howarth. So I was, mystified why there was so little action given all this money. So I sent him an email like 3 days ago. And I got an automatic response, I'm swamped, don't bother me, you've been thinking about it, I'm busy. An hour later, he emails me back. It says, look, we're as frustrated as you are. This council was not meant since it was convened a year ago. We all want things to go and get going. Please lobby your legislators to get this moving again. It seems to have stalled. So, I mean, that kind of gives you, this is a guy who's an insider. He's one of the 22 people appointed by the state legislature to oversee this climate mitigation program, So it's an interesting story. The mandates are out there. The CLCPA put them in place. All electric by 2040, carbon neutral by 2050. The mandates haven't changed, but there seems to be a dearth of action on the ground, at least in terms of the subsidies. So it's like a dam, at some point the dam's gonna break, the money's there, $4.2 billion isn't exactly chicken feed.
You say 4.2?
4.2 billion, that's what the B.
Yeah, I heard that part.
Yeah. So, I mean, the state legislature, we have the most aggressive climate program in the nation right now, according to the press release when this law was passed in 2021. So again, all the signals are running like this is gonna happen, but we're all looking, where's the meat?
Nothing's happening.
Yeah, it's talk, but at some point, this is the money's gonna rain, And I think, by staying on top of this and being ready to act when the money comes, we'll be in a good position, rather than just waiting and then playing catch up like a lot of people might be doing,
Is there any other local funding that you've looked at or tried to pursue? There's some other local things that go on, Canton,
In terms of grant funding,
well, grants or, funding for something like this.
we've been asking.
Okay. I think that's gonna be an important piece for us, how we fund this. And honestly, things are tight. We're looking at 14.1% increase in healthcare costs alone, going into this coming year. So, when and the board has to have a global view of everything we do. It just becomes difficult to find funds, especially in the middle of the year to keep moving forward. I've been able to do it for a few months and but at some point, we're gonna have to see some sort of support come from another direction to help us with this. My hope was that the state was gonna mandate this kind of thing.
It will eventually.
This is gonna have to be done. It's gonna have to be handled by our haulers. And they're gonna have to do it.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, some states will just mandate it and then it's up to the municipalities
To figure it out.
Well, and
they
then
contract with private, some of them contract with private people, some of them don't.
Yeah, in our community, we don't, some communities locally here have their own waste collection and they'll handle that. In our community, that's up to contractors to, independent services to do that sort of thing. And that's gonna be the way that it's gonna reach everybody. We did some percentages, I think, to see where we were with the numbers that you had. The other thing that concerns me, and village participation versus some out of the, town participation. The town doesn't seem to be interested in helping support this. The numbers, what was it, 39 and 9, I think?
Yeah, 39.9.
Yeah. And then a couple of people from outside the township completely, so.
We, you know, I mean, it is one of these areas where, you know, we have to take a look at sort of at the whole and, you know, we're talking about, you know, 0.5% of the village water users that are using the compost, right? So,
At the moment, yeah.
yes, and I
Absolutely.
understand definitely the goal is that it would be many, many, many more. But in terms of deciding, you know, how best to, you know, share scarce resources, you know, this is, you know, this, we're talking about a few, and so I think that's going to be something that we have to wrestle with. I think we really need a funding plan, not like sometime in the future, but like, here is how we will fund it. For us to be able to, you know, find a way to provide some sort of gap in the meantime. I think that was sort of what we tried to communicate a few months ago. I'm glad the trial has gone well. I shared with the board the emails that I have received. Some of which some of y'all were CC'd on, so, you know, I hear that it is working very well. And that folks are using it and that they appreciate being able to use it. And, you know, certainly it's our desire to be able to support programs that people use and, you know, that they find benefit from. But this is one that, you know, I'm not quite sure how to go forward without, you know, grant funding to cover the costs. So, that's a little bit of where I'm at with it.
We have one more month,
Is that, we have one more month,
3 weeks. Yeah.
about 3 weeks?
so then they leave us with 4 more months in the budget year.
Mhm. I think he.
Can I
wants
ask
to
a
speak.
question
Oh,
sort of
of
off
course you
the-
can.
this immediate thing? In terms of the liaison, the grant money for that, what do you envision them doing?
Part of it is developing a strategy, so
Mhm.
they're gonna sit down and talk with us, you know, how we see, you know, they could actually, you know, be informed by, you know, anything you're about to say, about developing it, so figuring out what is gonna work for Canton, but it is primarily about outreach and getting more people to know about composting, why it's important, just increasing more momentum and awareness.
So they're a liaison to the community to build.
Yeah.
And that
space.
that job description is already out. So
Okay.
it's gonna happen. There will be a compost liaison, whether the program continues or not.
Right.
And there's gonna be one in Potsdam, one in Malone
Yeah.
and Rensselaer Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that money already exists, that $2,000 exists.
So,
to
I mean-
support a person, so there will be somebody here doing that work.
Hypothetically, that would increase the volume
One
of
would think.
users.
One
If
would
not,
hope.
if not,
One would hope.
that's a sad state of affairs, but,
And how long does that, like, for a year?
They're
For
hired
6 months?
for 100 hours.
Okay.
April to June.
And they get a training session, I think, 1 or 2 day training session, I think, about composting and about best ways to approach the public.
then just don't just go.
Yeah, we have a few
Knock
people
yourself
in mind
out.
for it, so.
Would there be such a thing as, like with your CSE, garden, you know, gardens and things like that? Would that be a possibility that someone take a stake ownership in this and in return would receive X number of cubic feet of compost
Yeah,
annually?
a lot of people have mentioned that idea.
To me, that would be a
Yeah.
win-win there. You could say, okay, for my $20 or my $50 membership, I would, you know,
Yeah.
I would get a
A set of,
garbage pail full, you know, garbage thing full of compost. I mean, I know there's been compost material there at the site there behind the barn there. This year it wasn't as clean as it was in previous years, but it is there. which is appreciated, but, I think that would be a way to kind of build awareness and ownership deep into the community.
That composting is, that compost supply is a combination of St. Lawrence horse barn
Okay.
and leaves and that,
Right,
you know,
right.
organic type things that,
Yeah,
you know, were collected and then moved over there. Some are cleaner than others because over the years, depending on what you got in the batch.
yeah, right.
They actually had to screen it too.
Yeah, and some of it's
This
been
didn't- A lot of that didn't get screened.
screened. So they've been screening and
Great.
so,
So
Cause it's nice material.
yeah.
it is nice. It just does add a lot to the cost.
Yeah.
I could probably buy it for what we've got and moving it 3 times, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Well, and I
Okay.
would,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I guess what I'm thinking is I'd like to give these things that are happening, grant applications, a liaison, a chance to work without like saying, you know, you're gonna have to start all over again because we've shut it down. But I'd like to sort of say, you know, next fiscal year, it needs to be like solvent. It needs to be able to support itself. But that, you know, perhaps we could find a way between now and the end of the fiscal year to keep it going, to maintain the continuity, let these things that are in the works work with
Build
the
momentum.
with the momentum, but with the express knowledge that the party's over, well, you know, that's as long as we can commit to doing that.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of ideas, like the one that you just did
Yeah.
behind you, you know, that I think
Yeah.
that we can be discussing together with the sustainability committee and NCC to, you know, in the interim as well. to figure
Right,
out,
that's the
so.
point. Keep it going so the ideas can come to fruition.
With a strategic plan to move forward for the following year.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Would the trustees be willing to send a letter to the late legislators, our senators and assembly person? You know, asking for funding for this, given that there is this money out there and this is what one of the members of the Climate Action Committee requested.
Release the funds.
You know,
Yeah.
instead of a letter, I would say, I actually just got a letter from Dan Steck, who's our senator, who congratulated me on getting elected, so, and, you know, with the, of course, obligatory, please
I'm
contact
here
me
to
if you have any questions. But here we
Here
go, but I would say a face-to-face is more, you know, you send a letter, someone in this office reads it and it gets in a pile and maybe. But at least you could really take his temperature in person. I would maybe do that with someone who's more knowledgeable than myself, but I would be willing to contact him to at least see where he stands on some of this stuff.
That seems to be the sense of this professor at Cornell, is that they needed to be bugged a bit. Like legislators saying, oh, we passed legislation, it's over, now we can. do
Yeah, out of
something
sight,
else."
out of mind.
Meanwhile, nothing,
follow-up.
nothing happens,
No
and
follow-up,
2 years later, it's like,
Yeah, you need a squeaky
you
wheel.
need somebody out there in their face a little bit now, and I say,
Yeah.
hey, you
No,
didn't solve the
100%.
problem, you made the possibility of solving the problem.
Percent.
Now you
So, I mean, I'm certainly willing to contact him and see if we can at least have a conversation in person. If
Of
not,
course, we'd be happy to join your,
okay,
whatever.
let me see what his response is.
Has anybody
Well,
spoken to Heidi Ames from planning office? She's always kicking out, these grant possibilities that cover the gambit of law enforcement, historian, USD, I mean, there's a little bit of everything there. If anybody hasn't. reached
When you
out
say
to
the
her,
planning office, you mean county planning?
county planning office, she kicks out, every once in a while I get an email and I have all these things listed.
Yeah.
That, so if I see something that seems to fit somebody, but she may be a great contact for somebody that just to call and ask.
There may be another possibility. We will be in Albany in February.
Yes,
So,
hopefully.
Pending action
Pending
later.
action.
pending action, but I suspect.
Don't get
You're
ahead of
voting on
yourself.
I still won't
Mayor.
vote for myself on that one.
So the cost, there's been a proposal to lower the cost to some extent. When would
I
that take
believe that
effect?
was
You know, starting in January.
starting in
Okay.
January.
Well, we're gonna need a firm commitment for, funding this thing. There'd be 4 more months after, our initial commitment, so. I think that we ought to be able to find something somewhere to help this along, but, this is gonna have to come to a head at some point.
Mhm.
So we would hope that, money's gonna be released somewhere, there's gonna be some sort of support out there for this kind of thing. It's a bigger deal for all of us, I know, and we have to find a way to accomplish some of these things.
May I ask how much it costs?
It's, at $500 a month, it's, $6,000 a year.
Okay, that's, I
so-
didn't know.
Yeah, that's the lower cost, the higher cost, the first 3 months is higher.
39.
Are you taking public comment?
Yeah, this is a discussion.
Okay, well, I didn't know who these dudes were. I don't compost. It's not high on my list of priorities that keep me up at night, and there are plenty of. But I know Kathy. And so I'm here tonight to speak to Kathy, and that she's the real deal. And if you can see clear to let her have at this a little bit for some amount of time, she may or may not do it, but I think we need to do it as a community, or we're going to do it as a community. And to have somebody right now who's passionate about it and cares about it is a good problem to have. That said, your job, and I commend you for it, is the bottom line. And so what I suggested this to Kathy, what's the percentage you want to see? What's the tonnage you want to see? And how much of that $6,000 a year cost do you want funded? Do you want it all funded, or do you want half of it funded? Because I'll tell you something, if you can't raise $6,000 in this community, going to Albany ain't cutting it. We all know that, but so there's that. And can you, in the fourth estate, not put this next part down?
You're going off the record.
Well.
Say it, I'm going
No
off the record.
guarantees.
I'm going off the record. The Presbyterian Church will come up for 1 month's funding.
Oh, okay.
So you're all talking about outside sources. I think the money is in this community. Barbara, I'm gonna throw you and the Unitarians under the bus too. Presbyterians can do it, Unitarians can do it.
I will ask.
So that's a six of it. Well, I'm just saying, that's how this is gonna get done.
Yeah.
And
Competition.
well, and here's the other thing, I'm probably saying something that either I'm paranoid about or imagining, but my guess is that you're all gonna nod your heads. Trying to have the sustainability committee do this is really not a very good systematic approach. Because there are people on the committee who want to see this and people on the committee that don't. So, if you're gonna ask this big mass of people with different perspectives to all come to an agreement, you're asking to solve a problem that is not gonna get solved. So, I don't know if there's a subcommittee or a working group or, get 3-4 people and start banging on doors and making phone calls and doing email. That said, here's the reason I brought the cookies.
Off the record.
No, you can go back on the record with this. I just didn't want my church to find out that. I committed
Well,
$500.
good move. Good
Well,
move.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
wants to be that person.
But I think the cut. Okay, anyway, the Unitarians didn't say yes to it.
No, I can't speak.
Here's what I think. We live in a bifurcated community. We're not like Potsdam. We're not like Ogdensburg. We're not like Malone, anywhere else. We have a very distinct, or at least a perception, which may be more to the point, of different groups within the community. And they're not 50-50. It's like 80-20, 90-10. And the 80-90, my sense of it is that they're a little tired of being dictated to by the 10-20. So that may be an oversimplification, but I think it's time that we as a community need to get past that and start seeing these kinds of things as common issues to all.
this is a beautiful topic to try to start building some bridges. You're not talking about any kind of dicey social, political, popular culture crap. You're talking about things that are pretty straightforward. I think that there's enough people in both camps in this community who could raise the money to do this and provide the leadership. And I think then it would be encouraging of those that are considering us for a $20 million grant once a year. I mean, I can't figure out why we haven't gotten that, other than to say, Potsdam can pull off a Fright Night on a Friday night. They can pull off a summer fest for 4 or 5 days. They got a lot of people that are different, but they're all working together. We got a lot of people here that are different, and they're not all working together. And I'm, this is a big deal for me because I'm at a point now where I haven't felt like I've had an awful lot of support in some quarters of the community, and the human nature of me would like a little payback, but that's not helping the cause. We got to pull this together, and this is an easy one to do for $6,000. We're spending an hour at a board meeting for $6,000. Barbara, make some phone calls, right? Well, I'm just saying.
Okay,
And old jolly old Reverend Mike has a few more stops to make.
thanks for the cookies.
Well, I hope you eat it.
We will. Okay,
Appreciate your comments.
any other comment, on this?
There you go, one way or the other.
I was gonna
Okay.
ask something similar to where Reverend Mike was saying, if you thought about what numbers would make this a lot more attractive and exciting to be able to find funding for it in case we can't find outside funding.
Well, I think it's gonna be part of our conversations with our, as we
Budget
go
planning.
into budget season, and, it'll be all part of it, and we're gonna have to see where the numbers all fall. Yeah, we've got a big budget, and doesn't seem like $6,000 is much. We're facing a lot of expense too.
Yeah.
So, and that's, what I have to look at from a,
Yeah.
All of us do, yeah.
a top level.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, I have a question behind you. So regarding that upcoming $6,000 essentially, and this program has been going on for a few years already, that has been supported, but it's been supported at a higher level than that $6,000?
well, it's been supported by, our DPW having to, do it. It's been built into a DPW budget that, is stressed also. And it takes time and energy, for those people to do that work, and it has to be done at certain times. And they have a lot of other things on their plate.
And
Plus, it's not part of their contract really, what type of work they do.
Right.
So that has
Right.
become an issue that we've been
Right.
fighting.
So removing that piece of it, that
Right.
Yeah.
alleviates some stress on them that was added to when this program
Correct.
was started. in that
Correct,
way.
right, because the village doesn't do any, unlike Potsdam, we don't have any,
Refuse.
Trash
Right.
removal, or Messina, or,
Yeah.
other communities have their
Other
own
communities,
operation.
that's a municipal
I,
job.
yeah, and I think that the other big point that hasn't been made in terms of that is that the DPW doesn't have the capacity to monitor. And what
Really helped.
really helped is the monitoring and being able to assess. And that's what's costing like out of pocket, in a different way.
When it's contaminated, then they have to bring it to the dump and, then that's a cost and time
Right.
and.
And they're
it
huge
defeats the purpose.
So
different
in a
kinds of
sense, there's
materials.
almost contracting in this way, it's saving a little bit because it's not that extra
Yeah,
burden on
right.
them and everything. And anyway,
Well,
I
it's getting
also
taken care
want to
of.
speak as I personally use that. And I really do enjoy it. I'm probably one from the town, but I use it weekly, usually at least twice I was
Great.
gonna bring my containers to show you all. I did not. So.
Appreciate it.
Mine's in the car, I almost.
But anyway, I do want to share from the public, I mean, I'm sure, as you said, you have had things, but again, my position, not only in my work position, but also in a personal position is, I'm raising kids and teaching them this, and I think it is important for our community. And again, as you have voice, I understand the bottom dollar line is very important, and to support finding creative ways to have this sustainable. But I think it's also important issue and needs to give a little more life than the 3 months. It seems that it's working, the 3 months, what you have identified of some of the major issues were corrected were able to be corrected within 3 months. So what else can be corrected again with the finances in a few more months and hopefully with long-term sustainability?
As a town resident, you can help by contacting town officials and
Yep.
say, this is worthwhile, and maybe you could share the burden. I mean,
That's really where we need to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
would
be
make
the
it a
fair
lot easier
thing.
for
I mean,
me to sell.
don't begrudge anybody using it. I'm glad
Absolutely.
to hear that you're using it, but
Right,
they might need to just
Right.
hear that,
Yeah.
that it's important.
that it's
to you.
important.
I'm from the town. And I used the composting last year. You weren't taking names or anything then.
Mhm.
And I'm not on the list. You're up to 10. But it's
A
helped
10%
also.
increase in one day.
But it's starting, there's composting available in our church now. So that's another eye opener for the community. So, keep it up because more people will know about it. So I think it's very worthwhile.
And you can also write a letter to the town to say,
Yeah.
Oh, I go.
So-
well, or speak, well, I mean, it just helps us,
Right.
instead of us making the case from the outside.
Right.
And saying, telling them, they're hearing it from their own constituents, so. That always works.
Of which we are not.
Of which, well,
Um,
but we,
Okay,
no comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, say a couple of things that have come up that I think are really important. I think maybe it would be important for some of us, internally to sit down and have a conversation about the sort of benchmarks and, what our sort of
Yeah.
end goal is here, and then
What
find
would
a way
success
to,
look
what
like?
would success look like? That's fair, when we design programs, ideally, we also design ways to assess them. And when we don't, we end up in positions like this. So I think that, I think that really, we have a month, basically, more or less, to sort of see if we can't find a way to have a plan that makes us feel comfortable that this is gonna be sustainable in the long haul and that we can support. That's where I'm at.
okay.
Possibly other ways to make the site useful, is something to think about too. I don't know what that would look like exactly, but, there's people coming and going there, so being able to present information, I guess regarding environmental topic or whatever might be useful. that way, I don't know.
Okay. So we're gonna keep moving forward. It'll be part of our conversation for the budget.
Yep.
And we're gonna need, a push towards, how we're gonna fund this thing.
I
Yeah,
just, so I'm the recreation director. My budget is very tight. There's a lot of people in the town and the village that are very passionate about recreation. I guarantee you have enough people in this town passionate about your project. We raised over nearly $60,000 for that kayak launch in less than 6 months, all local. It's possible. Don't give up hope. So I would say look at it small, and I think you're gonna reach your goal. And right off, being creative. Who's reached out to our local restaurants? Are they using it? There's your mass right there. But
Grocery
don't-
stores.
don't give up hope because it's possible.
okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and coming and
Meeting together at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll let Barb coordinate with that. Yep.
So we're on through December.
we're through January.
We're through
And
January.
I'm gonna find funding for through the end of the budget year. At a different rate.
Yeah, I just want to be clear so that we're clear
Where
for
we are
everybody
today.
that where we are today,
Mhm.
that we are, and do we
need a
need
motion?
to, yeah, okay, that's what my
Alright.
next question was gonna
All right,
be. We have to do that. Okay,
We're good.
all right.
fantastic.
Let's move on.
Thanks,
If you
everyone.
don't wanna
Thank
stay
you.
for the rest, that's okay.
Although if you'd like to stay to learn about some of how else we're spending y'all's money, then you're welcome to do so. We've got some large dollar projects to discuss tonight.
Okay, where are we?
Thanks
here?
for everybody's work on this.
Committee reports. What do I have for committees?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Throw on your phone.
Oh, wait, that's coming on my plan. If you want me to talk a little about another aspect of sustainability, I will, since we're sort of on that. Just,
They sat back down.
They say.
I can stay on it here.
Yeah,
There you go.
Please eat the cookies. We cannot. bring
there are a
the
lot
cookies
of
up.
them. That's beautiful.
Just an update that, St. Lawrence has, an AmeriCorps, person named Evelyn, LaFerriere. And we met her the other day. She's really great, recent Clarkson grad, and, she is going to be doing, she's been trained specifically to do some home energy. She's doing a lot of different things, but in specifically some home energy efficiency things. They have she's working with 2 St. Lawrence students. They are really trying to reach a number of households, low income, to help people get their house up to snuff. They have she's anxious to get into the school. She would also be a very big help, I think, on the composting front, because she's really interested in working in the high school and everything else. And I think students could be a real asset in this whole project.
Carol Wright, I've said it before.
Carol Wright, right?
Carol Wright, if you don't, do you know Carol? Carol Wright is the FFA coordinator, and she's the ag teacher. She's awesome.
And she marshals quite a crew of kids. They are worker kids, so
Yep.
that would, I think making that connection would be great, because also very passionate at that age, and an influence on their family.
Yeah.
To say, just that daily bugging, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing
She also does a leadership class, so she's got leadership class, she's the advisor for FFA, and she's the ag teacher. She's a Cornell grad.
So, but anyway, Evelyn is, I think, gonna be a great asset, and if there's any, you'll be hearing more about this program too. They've worked with Cornell Cooperative Extension to be trained in, I think, they're called Energy Navigators.
Oh,
Ooh.
So pretty good snazzy title.
Actually, just piggyback on a couple of other interesting things that she's gonna be working on is water sampling of the Grass
Yeah,
River. And looking at salinity levels related to road salt and also microplastics.
Oh, cool. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, they have her till July, so she's gonna be, she's gonna be working with us too.
That's great.
Anything else?
Nope.
I mean, we met with the county, but that's on our agenda, so.
Yeah, it's on the
In terms of
agenda, and I think that's,
safety committee.
yeah.
Yep.
Police, negotiations are ongoing. I think we're very close. I think we'll know if we're there very, very soon.
Yes, that's exciting. We met a couple times, so.
Okay, well, economic development, this was a little bit in Lee's report, but I also wanted to mention that we met with the, and by we, I mean Barb and I, met with and Lee, met with the chamber, with Ben and, Tiff, Amo, and our new, and by our, I mean our new community chamber representative, whose name is Katie Berry. So we met to discuss how we can collaborate to develop a marketing plan for Canton. So, we've been doing things like getting these videos, which is another sort of topic. The CGI videos, we're waiting on the final edits to be made, and then we will have those. So, that's a really good marketing tool for us, but we don't really have a strategic marketing, plan for how to sort of tell folks about, who we are. So, we met with them, and we're going to continue that, conversation in January. They're going to come to us with something of a plan. So, Finance Committee met, support the good work of our clerk and treasurer. So just to mention that, Building Committee has also met a couple of times. So we are that's the joint committee with, John and Mary Ann and Mike and myself. And, we're working on, coming up with some ways that we might be able to, downsize, actually, space. So we can downsize the cost of that building. So we've been, looking at, perhaps ways we can decrease storage, and some various options. Part of that, we, worked a little bit with, one of Eric Backus's, Clarkson classes. We provided the project for them for this semester. I know, it was pretty fabulous. They came down, the mayor and the supervisor did a tour and, that sort of thing. And, at the end, they gave us, some plans, so to speak, proposed some ideas. So that's all great, because, it's ideas that we can add to the pot and see what, what we can do. So that's been, good. Communications and technology. We continue to meet on the website, working on the site map. Thank you so much to all of the, department heads, that have, and committee chairs that have met with us and have gotten their, stuff together. So we're, moving forward on that.
Special thank you to Sally and
Oh,
Heidi for
always. It's
so much organized.
it really
We were like,
incredible.
yeah. How
Yeah.
are we gonna do this? And then
It's out of my grace.
We're doing it.
we're doing it.
Yep.
Yep.
Infrastructure, a couple of things, just before the meeting, hot off the presses. Community choice aggregation, which I didn't expect to hear from until sometime next year, said that prices are coming down and they're going to be sending us indicative pricing in January. So, that's a great big, we'll see. And,
We'll see.
and, but hey,
least
speaking
they
about,
started to move in the right
sustainability and, it's, it would be great if we could in fact head in that direction like we've been trying to do. So if you get a notice to attend a webinar, it would be because we probably are gonna be required to do some more of this in lieu of anything. We met, infrastructure met with, counterparts on Town Highway and, folks, from Barton and Judas to kick off the Stiles Avenue project. So to, begin, the work on, imagining ways we might be able to share sand salt storage and potentially other resources. So that work has begun, which is really exciting. We are very much looking forward to being able to move our stuff at some point. Also an environmental issue. So yeah. Last but not least, and I mean, really, this is just a teaser, but you all saw that we went forward with the bond anticipation notice for the $900,000 for the preliminary design of the wastewater treatment plant project. So that went forward, that closed on Tuesday.
It was awarded on the
Yesterday.
19th. It will close on January.
That's what I
9th.
mean. Thank you. So,
The winning purchaser was Green County Commercial Bank
so.
at a rate of 4.12%.
Perfect. So, we're gonna be talking more about where we go from there a little bit here in a little bit. Sure. That's
Done?
all. Yeah.
Rec did meet as well, and we've got some of it on the agenda as well.
Okay.
We need a cookie now.
Communications and information. I don't have anything to share that isn't in the agenda. Whole business. 64 Main. I just keep that on there to remind everybody that it's still there. We did agree to an agreement with company for demolition. The low bidder agreed to keep their price the same as what they bid, and that will be done in the spring.
Great.
19 Minor Street. We have a meeting tomorrow. Things are moving forward. I think Lee had in her report that it looks like we can proceed with, environmental review. That's gonna be a key piece to that, and it's a requirement on that project because there's federal money involved. It's a different type of review. So that gets very interesting. It's a lot different than the New York State, secret process.
Indeed.
Okay.
I mean, maybe.
The next item is the temporary closure of Pearl Street at Court Street. I circulated an email to you late this afternoon.
Yeah.
The county has agreed to our, concerns. And we'll address, has agreed to address all those concerns, including the replacement of a structure. I think that was an important piece. That's an expensive piece for us.
Yep.
There's other work that's gonna be done on drainage and that sort of thing, but those are the kind of things we gotta try to get done.
Yeah, there's the structure being the.
The storm drain.
The
Yeah,
storm
they-
drain.
on
They,
the
they need to,
Right, I just wanted to,
yeah, they need to, connect into that storm drain. In
It
order
probably
to do
will
it.
sustain them trying to bore into everything, so.
It's in rough shape, so getting them to replace that, getting them to agree to replace that as part of the project, I think is important. The attorney and I have spoke on several occasions about closing that. The county originally had the idea that they were gonna do it all on in their parking lot, but there were some problems with some contracts they have with
yeah, well,
another agency.
capacity. Capacity.
And so, at any rate, it's our recommendation that we allow them to temporarily close that street
That
when they need it.
portion of it, yeah.
It'd just be from Court down to the first driveway for commercial, for Community Bank.
Yep.
Community Bank's aware.
Yep.
Emergency Services aware and in agreement. And the county and the village will be touching base with property owners, just so they
Great.
know.
Sounds good, yeah, the meeting went well.
Do you need a motion or anything?
Yeah, I think that we'll take a motion to formally approve that
So moved.
closure.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. New business, authorized payment of vouchers and transfer funds.
So moved. Pay those bills.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Or maybe you did. I don't know.
Anybody opposed?
I don't oppose to pay bills.
Next item was to change the status of our treasurer, Sharon Brunette, from part-time to full-time.
So moved.
That's with one T. I apologize for my
I was
mistake
gonna
on the
say,
agenda.
why does it have two T's?
One T?
One T.
Well,
So moved.
the clerk didn't catch that either.
Scandal.
She edits my work.
Yeah.
I skid her right under the bus.
I reminded him of that.
I'm sorry, I made a motion.
I did.
I seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Better
No.
not be.
Too late.
Thank you.
Yes.
So excited.
Welcome to the dark side.
I think we're good. End of every day.
Hey, gang.
I've never seen Sally smile so much.
On calendar.
I know, I actually got to leave for lunch today.
See, when I leave for lunch, I get phone calls all the
Yeah,
time.
I left my phone in the car.
Okay, next item is two tree committee appointments I was asked to make. Dale Grant and Kim Aplanet.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We had a resignation, part-time recreation labor. I think he got a full-time job somewhere else. So, need a motion to accept him
So
and his
moved.
resignation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next item is to approve hiring of Zachary Van Brocklin as a laborer in DPW. We were able to come up with a good candidate.
We're
Took
patient.
some time.
Hang in there.
Beautiful thing.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The next item is to approve travel to NICOM winter meeting. Deputy Mayor and Barb would like to go. We need approval for that.
So moved.
I will so move it.
Thank you.
And I will
one of us
second, and I'll second it.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All right.
What dates is it for?
February
Fourth
fourth and fifth and the morning of the sixth, although.
All in favor?
Aye.
This
Okay.
time, you're not gonna snow me into signing up for something embarrassing. I'm a little smarter this year.
No trivia, but you won.
I know.
Is this in Albany?
Yes.
Okay.
She tells me to sign up for this thing and then as it is, it's the entertainment for the
For the other
dinner.
people.
They're having. a
And we were,
family-
we were entertained.
They're faking it. It's a Family Feud thing. I was like.
To be fair, I did not know what was coming,
It's okay.
but it was
You-
awesome and you won.
I
You
know,
go
it was
with
part of
that.
the winning.
You didn't know.
But,
Do we have to?
Okay.
for this
The next item is to approve amended,
Rate?
the amended, approve an
It's
amended
contract.
engineering agreement
Contract.
with Barton LaJudas. This is, goes hand in hand with the band that we, the band anticipation note that we just, awarded.
Right.
And it's the beginning of the, design portion of the sewer project.
Yeah, you want me to give you a quick update?
Yeah, that'd be great. And
So this is
I'll,
Taylor.
This is
right over
Taylor, yes.
Yeah, so I'm Taylor Jennings. I don't know if I've been in person to this meeting yet. I've been on Zoom a few
You have
times.
been on Zoom for
Been
sure.
on Zoom,
So-
yes.
It's nice meeting you all in person. You know, we've been working on the sewer project for, probably about a year now, I think. And, just to give you a quick update, I guess, on where everything was, we completed the engineering report. You guys went through seeker, we got a bond resolution, we got all teed up for funding applications, in right around August timeframe. We were able to submit all those, and then we heard back on the WIA grant. So congratulations, you guys received $3.375 million in that program. And also, you were able to secure a hardship loan of, the big kicker on that is 0% interest. So that's
So big.
huge for the project.
Mhm.
So, I guess, kind of the issue with that financing package is that it takes 6 to even 12 months to close. So, what you guys were able to do is, take out a bond anticipation note, and that will, give you cash on hand to start the design now while we're closing on the financing, and then that will get rolled into your EFC financing package. So all good news. So what we did was we put together an amendment for the board's consideration tonight. That amendment covers, basically authorizes BNL to start the design, or I should say, complete the design, go through the agency review process, permitting, bidding, and then actually oversee construction, and do basically the final closeout. So that amendment covers you from start, or not start, but where we're at right now, all the way to the end of the project. So, as far as the amendment details, what we did was when we did the original agreement, that was for a preliminary engineering report. That agreement had all of the design and, bidding and phases was in that agreement. It just, we had a lot of to be determined clauses in there, because at that time, we don't have a scope for the project. We know that we're gonna do an evaluation. We don't know exactly what we're doing after that. So this amendment will basically put in place, that information in the original agreement, because we have a defined scope now. We know what we're doing. And we, assign budgets to all the categories that we have in there. You'll notice that some are lump sum, some are hourly. The lump sum are really defined budget items. We know exactly what we're gonna do. So there's a lump sum fee in there. Those will typically get billed out monthly. And we bill out 4% complete on those items per month. So, we're obviously not gonna bill all that up front. It's basically how we complete the work. Hourly, those are items that, there's some up in the air things that can happen as we go, kind of dependent on, how much time we have to spend with review agencies and whatnot. So those are billed on a time and expense basis. So we have a not to exceed fee amount in those. So, other than that, I
and take any questions you guys have.
I know, you had a couple questions as you went through and you called and talked.
I did, I called
you got
Matt today, I
answers?
did get answers and I'm, yes, thank you, and your overview helped as well, so thank you.
Okay. There's, this amendment is what, 59, 60 pages,
Yes,
so.
a lot going on there.
And you did all receive that,
Yeah.
so, and it just firms up everything that we had originally.
Oh,
approved.
and actually, one thing I should say is that the amendment and the amount you're authorizing is all built into the project costs that we have.
Right.
There's no overages or anything like that. This
Yep.
is built into that total project costs that we were
Yep.
talking about from the very beginning. So
Right.
this has all been built in.
Once the funding package is approved.
Mhm.
The ban will be paid off.
Yep.
Is that, there's drawdowns on that
Yes.
over time? Okay.
Yep. So what'll happen, once you close on that funding package, even the short term, you'll have a short term closing and that's 0% as well.
Okay.
So the disbursements will come through that short term closing and what they do is they have the WIA grant. They'll disperse 50% of the WIA grant up front, and then they go into your loan portion and then they disperse the last 50% at the end.
So that was one of the questions that was.
Yeah. And do you know, we also applied for the,
WQIP.
yeah.
Yes.
Have they been announced?
They have not been announced
Okay.
yet. No, those usually are about the middle of January
Right,
typically.
right.
So we're
Yeah.
still, hopefully we
Yeah.
get more money for
Right.
that. Yes.
So, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And, you know, the idea is that we would continue to apply for funding where
Yep.
it seems appropriate all the way really through this process
Yes.
to try to bring that.
Yeah, we wanna get
13.5
as much grant
down.
dollars as we
Yeah.
can. So,
Okay,
I know that there's, STAG grants that become available every May. Those are through your assemblyman.
Yep.
State, or I think it's state and the federal
mhm,
have those STAG grants. We usually apply
okay,
every year for those.
Okay.
We will continue with the WQIP program. There is a look back period, I think, of maybe 2 to 3 years, which will
Okay.
probably get you through project completion at that
Yep.
point. So there is a limit on how far back you can go, but you
Right.
certainly have a couple more rounds that you can go through
Okay.
on that. And we're always looking, there's always grant opportunities that come up that we always submit our projects to, try to get as much as we can, so.
One of the terms of the WIA grant was that based on the expense or the cost of the project,
Mhm.
they said it could have been adjusted.
Yeah, so what that means is it's a net project cost. So a WIA grant, you get 25% of the net project cost.
Okay.
So, say you have a $10 million project. Well, that's not a good example. Say $8 million project, 25% would be a $2 million WIA grant. What they look at though is that if you get additional grant dollars, you would subtract out that grant from that total, and then it'd be 25% of that value, and that's what your WIA grant would be adjusted to.
Okay.
So so any future grant
Makes it
dollars.
hard to kind of get ahead of the.
Yeah, any
curve.
future grant dollars are basically 75 cents on a dollar to your WIA grant,
Mm,
basically is what they
Okay.
do.
Well, that's one thing I
Interesting.
read in the.
Yeah,
grant papers.
that's helpful to understand.
I did accept the grant, but.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I know, that's what it made me think of.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh,
Just when you think you're getting ahead.
Do you have any more questions about the amendment?
I don't.
no, I'm good. So,
Need a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Exciting.
thank
Guys.
you. Let the
We're on it, right?
design.
The fun begin. Yeah.
yes.
You will it be regular conversations during the design process with,
Oh, yeah, we'll be with
Tim
him. And well, I mean, we can set it up where we have monthly meetings if you want. I mean, we can do anything we want, but typically what we'll do is, we usually get about a 50% design roughly.
Mhm.
And then we will usually give that to you guys, make sure that we're all on the same page, go through it all. It doesn't necessarily have to be full board level, but
No,
at
no,
least
I just-
definitely with Tim. And then we
Appreciate
get
that.
comments and all that stuff. And then we'll go up to maybe 60%. And then it'll be 90%, and then it'll be bid ready. So there's stages that we go through along the
Great.
way. So obviously we need as much feedback as we can get when we go through that, so.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Here for
sounds
that.
good. I'll sign this and, sometime tomorrow, probably.
Okay, yeah, just email me over the signature page and we'll be good to go. So.
All right,
if
Thanks so
everyone's All
much.
set.
yeah.
I'm gonna
We're
take
good.
off because I gotta go back to Watertown.
Oh,
So.
fair.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming.
Thanks for coming.
No problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
last item on the
I think we already
agenda
have
is
Safe travels.
public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public
Quick
comment?
thing.
Yeah.
I was looking at Heidi Ames' last email, and there are a few grants that I'm not sure, there's one that already passed, just barely passed. It's like Stewart Shops has a community giving grant. So I think Heidi Ames would be one of your first,
Yeah.
my recommendation.
Yeah.
Reach out to that
Wrote that
person. She may be able to help you out with something.
She's, who is she?
She
I
works for
can
the
make an
planning-
email introduction if you'd like.
She works for the county planning office, yep, right up on Court Street.
Okay, any other public comment? Going once, going twice? Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, everybody.
You
Everyone.
hang around.
Please take some cookies. Please.
Take cookies.
I think we're all set. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Santa Claus.
Well, I think,
You need a key?
you'll give me a minute.
Yeah, but I don't have my number.
Just hang for a second.
Later, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She says, and I have a present for you, but I'm gonna take some cookies for Will.
Yeah, they're out of money.
Yeah. With, do you have a plan for church?
Nope, you get over.
You
You're going to church this weekend? I, you know, probably.
I just looked, we didn't sign the first agreement with them until. like
Yeah,
March.
with the top.
So it's been less than a year that we've had them. for-
Good idea.
Yeah. I don't- That's what you're going to.
I know, I'm used.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
We will connect.
Thanks, Kathy.
I just have always see you when I don't have your definitely, so, it's been a long time.
This is my dinner.
Your dinner.
I haven't had dinner yet.
Oh, yeah. They're so pretty. What are the